Hey, this is Keith Long. I'm just here to share my Star Wars thoughts and ideas on. I rank the Star Wars movies, and I'm just here to give you my rankings of those movies. I want to say this that Star Wars is fantastic to me. I don't believe there is a bad Star Wars movie. Um, all Star Wars is good Star Wars because it's Star Wars, and it gives you that feeling that I've always had with Star Wars. And plus, um, my son Cameron and I, who he's 18 now, one of the things I feel like we share the most in life is the love for Star Wars. And I don't think there's anything that's going to take that away. So let me also say that I did not include the Clone Wars in this review because I think the Clone Wars are their own separate, awesome entity by Dave Filoni that is just incredible. I'm not sure where I would have put Clone Wars, but it would have been in the top two just because it's an awesome series, and I hate to even see it go. So let me start by just giving you my rundown of what I included. I included all the cinematic Star Wars movies in my review here, or in my top 10 or my top 11, I guess it would be, for these categories or for this category. So let me start with, I'm going to start the countdown with number 11. And number 11, I put Attack of the Clones, episode two, Attack of the Clones, as number 11. I don't know why it should be better, but I feel like it should be better, which is unbelievable because I just feel like it should be better. I'm not sure what's missing from the Attack of the Clones, but something's missing. And it just kind of drags in parts. And because it drags in parts, it's not as good as I think others are. But when you think about the Battle of Geonosis, you think about Obi-Wan going um, to Camino and battling Jango Fett. It should be better. It just should be better. And it should be higher. So I'm not sure why it's there, but it's number 11 on my list. Number 10 on my list is episode one of Phantom Menace. I remember the hype around the Phantom Menace when it came out, and um, it was disappointing. Like after I saw it, it was Star Wars, and it was okay, but it was just okay. And I just felt like the Phantom Menace should have been better. I think the big thing with Phantom Menace that held it down and held it back was there just wasn't enough Darth Maul. I mean, Maul, there was no way Maul should have died. And we know he didn't die, but there's no way it should have seemed like he died and he was done in the cinematic universe the way he was after episode one. I just thought he was an awesome character, and I just thought there should have been more there with him. The plot and Palpatine's plot, and you could see the things starting to take place. That was awesome. But I just think that besides the Duel of the Fates and a couple other little things in episode one, it was disappointing. It just wasn't. It was kind of a letdown, I guess I should say. It was just a letdown. There was a lot of hype built up around it, and Jar Jar didn't help out. There's just too much Jar Jar, too much of the Gungdan stuff, and the Trade Federation things. It just bogged it down, and there should have been more action in it, and there could have been. But that's just my feeling about episode one. So episode one, I put at number 10 on my list. Number nine is The Last Jedi. I know people hate The Last Jedi. I know The Last Jedi is very divisive in the Star Wars universe. But my feelings about The Last Jedi, and the reason I put it at number nine, is simply because The Last Jedi just kind of threw so many things out of whack. I didn't think it was a horrible film. I didn't think it was a horrible movie. I didn't particularly care for the Canto Bite stuff, like I think most of us didn't, as Star Wars fans. But that throne room fight scene with Rey and Kylo is it's one of the best lightsaber scenes I've ever seen in my life. It's one of the best fight scenes in Star Wars movies. It's fantastic. Um, Luke at the end, going to Crate, I think that's great stuff. I mean, I think that's good stuff. I know a lot of people are upset with Luke Skywalker kind of turning his back on the Jedi way of life, but even after watching some of the Clone Wars now and watching episodes with Ahsoka and kind of questioning, like, did the Jedi truly stay true to what they were supposed to be, or did they just truly get played by Palpatine and they became something they were never ever supposed to be? I think plays into all those things, and it plays into even Luke saying that the Jedi were arrogant and that they tried to do things that they kind of had no business doing and being involved in things. And I know that's way before what we're talking about now, but I think that's why the Jedi Order kind of fell off the way it did. But that's my number 9 as the Last Jedi. Number 8 on my list is Solo. I thought Solo, a Star Wars story, I thought it was fine. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I thought the cast did a nice job. I thought the storyline was well. For all the production problems they went through and having rewrites, I still would love to see Miller and Lloyd's, or I think that's his name. I'd love to see their version of it. The guys that did Spider Verse and the Lego movies, I'd love to still see what they did. But I thought Ron Howard did a nice job putting this movie all together, and like I said, I thought the characters were well. I thought the script was fine. The Kessel Run was a little bit disappointing because you just expected it and you knew it was coming. I thought the way Han and Chewie met up was fantastic. I liked the thefts. It was good stuff. It wasn't bad. It's an entertaining movie. It's a nice movie. I mean, it's not going to change your life or change your world, but I just thought it was a good movie, and so that's why it's number 8 on my list. Number 7 on my list is The Rise of Skywalker. I thought pound for pound for any Star Wars movie as far as action, JJ action packed this movie. It was action to the hilt. It was nonstop action from the beginning all the way until the end. I can't think of another Star Wars movie that had that much action in it. I just thought it was like an impossible feat for JJ to try to tie everything up the way things were put together in this last trilogy. It just didn't have a lot of continuity, and that's what made it so hard. And to me, that's what made The Rise of Skywalker so tough, was that they just didn't have enough time and enough continuity throughout to have this be the big, we're going to end the Skywalker saga and we're going to end it in a way where everybody, I think, was going to be happy. I was still pleased with the movie. I thought it was a good movie. It's a movie I could watch over and over again because of the action. But yeah, there's little things you're always going to be able to nitpick about that movie and about that trilogy that you may not like, or you wish they would have added, or things that you wish they would have done. But like I said in the beginning, it was Star Wars, and I was entertained, and I still am by it. So that's my number 7 on my list. Number 6 is The Force Awakens. I thought The Force Awakens did a great job giving you all the feels and bringing you back to everything that we had ever talked about in Star Wars. After a long hiatus, but it gave you all the old feels. I thought Rey and Poe and Finn were interesting characters. I couldn't wait to see where they took them. Uh, I thought they did a really nice job. Of course, bringing back Chewie and Han on the Millennium Falcon, it gave you all the feels. It was a good movie. And I know it was a lot of the same concepts from A New Hope, but I didn't care, and I still don't care. I thought that's exactly what I wanted to see. It's fan service, and that's what it should be, because um, we as fans, we know what we want to see, and I think we want to have that feeling of nostalgia, and I think that's what the Force Awakens gave us, and it gave us a new kind of feeling and a new kind of hope for what this new trilogy was going to be. So that is my number 6. My number 5 is A New Hope. I know it's the OG, it's the original. I think it's still held up pretty well. Now there are still things when you watch it, you're still like, wow, the CG and things like that. It's from 1977, but it's okay. It's still a great story. It's still a story about Luke and him searching for more, and he finds more. It's the introduction of Han Solo and Princess Leia and all those great characters that we all think about and we love so much. Um, but it's still great. It's still that moment of let's blow this thing and go home, kid. I mean, it's all of those things that are still within you as a Star Wars fan from years and years ago, and they still stick with you. And so it's number 5 on my list. Is A New Hope. Number 4 is Return of the Jedi. As a kid, I mean, that was it for me. I mean, other things may have been something special, but Return of the Jedi was awesome because Luke was a Jedi, and he was a Jedi, and he could kick butt. And when they're on Tatooine and they're rescuing Han, it's still one of the greatest Star Wars, scenes to me, or parts that I've ever seen in my life. The stuff on Endor got a little tough. I still wasn't big on the Ewoks. I could have done without the Ewoks, but overall, Return of the Jedi was like when I was a kid and you're playing Star Wars. That was to me that was the point I went to. It was like Return of the Jedi. Luke and Han and Leia and everything was fantastic. So that's my number four on my list. Now my top three coming up here. Um, with my top three, I gotta say number three was a shock to me as I started doing my list, but it's Rogue One. Rogue One was awesome. Rogue One was like a war movie just set in a Star Wars universe. It was Dirty Dozen like it was all those other movies where you have the guys and the gals who are going to sacrifice themselves for the good of the order, and they're trying to make a difference, and that's what they did in Rogue One, and it was awesome. Um, I can't even tell you character wise, like, oh, this is my favorite character, or I really love this character. I enjoyed all the characters in Rogue One, but I couldn't name a ton of them or tell you a lot about them background wise because there wasn't those things there. And I know there's going to be a Cassian movie, which is going to, or a Cassian show on Disney Plus, and that'll fill in some of those things. But it wasn't about that in Rogue One. That's to me what made Rogue One awesome was it wasn't even about the characters. It was about the story. The story was just so good. It was like, man, how are they going to pull this off? And you knew they were going to pull it off, but it was just trying to see how they would pull it off. And I think to hold an audience in the palm of your hands when they already know how things are going to end, but to see how it's going to happen, I think is wonderful storytelling. And so that's why Rogue One is number three on my list. Number two is Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is one of those things that is like a wine. It has gotten better over time because if you had gone back 20 years ago and talked about Revenge of the Sith, or 15 years ago and talked about Revenge of the Sith, people would have been like they would have poo-pooed it. Um, but the prequels get so much more love now than they ever got before. Now with this final trilogy that's come out, it's amazing how much love the prequels actually get. And Revenge of the Sith is one of those shows that I think, as a fan, you kind of look back on it, you go, you knew Revenge of the Sith was going to be bad because you knew Anakin was going to turn, and it was going to be hurtful, and it was going to hurt you when he did. But you also knew that the good guys weren't really going to win. I mean, they weren't going to win because you knew what was going to happen in this story. And so as you're watching it and you see him rescuing the Chancellor in the beginning, which is a great, great scene, which are great scenes and a great point in the movie. It's all those things. Order 66 to see it executed and to see the Jedi being killed by their clones. It just all those things. Like I said, it's the good guys not winning, but it's just a really good movie. It's good. It's a great way to see the turn actually happen. Even though I know some people are like, well, the turn happened too fast for Anakin, but you knew the turn was going to happen. So you can't sit there and act like you knew it wasn't going to happen. I mean, that was the whole point of it was you knew Anakin was going to turn. It was just a matter of seeing it executed. And so I thought the execution was fine, and it still gets me when I think about it. But Revenge of the Sith is number two on my list, and of course, my number one is just like 99% of everybody's number one who's a Star Wars fan, which is The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back to me is the perfect Star Wars movie. It is almost like the perfect movie. Character development is fantastic. They're taking you along this journey. You get the big plot twist and reveal, the different planets. Like as a kid, you're outside playing in the snow. You're pretending like you're on Hoth. It has all of the feels. It has all of the good stuff with it. It is fantastic. Cloud City, the introduction of Lando. Um, you get Lando in there. It's just good stuff. Them freezing Han Solo, and him being taken to Jabba. The bounty hunter stuff is excellent. It's the introduction of Yoda. I mean, it's Yoda coming along and Yoda, training Luke. It on Dagobah. It's all those things. It to me is if there's a treasure trove for a Star Wars movie, it is The Empire Strikes Back. It's the most to me beloved, and for a great reason because it has all of the good stuff in it. And it's another one of the movies where the good guys really, when you look at it overall, the good guys really don't win. Um, and it kind of leaves you on that sour note because the Empire's kicking butt the entire time in that movie, but it doesn't matter. It's still a great, great movie. So that's my top. That's my 11 in order, and I ranked my Star Wars movies in order. Just my ranking, just my 2 cents, but I just wanted to share it and put it out there in the world. And I just can't wait for more Star Wars content to continue to come because it's all great and it's fantastic. So may the fourth be with you. May the force be with you. And I will bid you all adieu. Thanks so much.